Greece, a land of legends, where the blue Aegean Sea meets the sky, and oak and pine forests stretch across valleys and rocky hills. For thousands of years, people and nature here have lived side by side, forming a harmonious tapestry of culture, agriculture, and tradition. But within that beauty, a silent threat has begun to rise. No war cry, no declaration, just a quiet presence that spreads a little more each day. Wild boars, the fastest spreading invasive species in Europe, have exploded in number across Greece. In just 3 years, their population has surged from around 100,000 to more than 400,000. They cross the Epirus Mountains, move through the valleys of Thessaly, and now press dangerously close to the suburbs of Thessaloniki. Each night, they tear up rice fields, snap the roots of olive trees, and trample vineyards, the very things nurtured through entire seasons, paid for with human sweat and time. For the farmers here, this is no longer a biology story. This is a fight to protect their way of life. In Greece, this disaster is rising in silence. From the slopes of Epirus to the olive valleys of Macedonia, the walking black flood, the wild boar, is spreading like a quiet, unstoppable wave. In just 3 years, their numbers have climbed from roughly 100,000 to over 400,000, a population boom far beyond any ecological forecast. They don't just destroy crops, they dig into oak forests, tear up the soil and trigger erosion, devour bird eggs, and wreck the nesting grounds of Mediterranean dune turtles. More dangerously, they carry African swine fever, ASF, a threat that can spill into livestock farms and cripple a centuries-old tradition of animal husbandry. At first, the Greeks tried to deal with the problem the same way many places in Europe did: steel traps, net traps, bait stations, and electric fencing. But wild boars learn fast. They change their travel routes every night, remember the scent of metal, and avoid any area where a trap was once set. The defenses people built to stop them only worked for a few short weeks. Traps, it turns out, were only a temporary answer. At that point, the Greeks understood that to protect their land, they had to stand together. Farmers and hunters joined forces, forming local response groups. ATVs, hunting dogs, radios, thermal cameras, and night vision scopes were brought into the field. No longer was it just individuals facing nature alone. It became a coordinated campaign, blending traditional knowledge with modern technology, from instinct to strategy, from farmland to deep forest. The fight had entered a new era. Early mornings in the forests of Epirus unfold in a cold, quiet hush. This is a land of complex terrain, where oak and pine woods weave through steep rock slopes and narrow valleys that stretch along the mountainsides. The elevation rises and falls constantly, forcing anyone moving through it to adjust their breath and their pace. The canopy overhead forms a continuous roof of leaves, so the first light of day doesn't spread evenly. It filters down in narrow, shifting shafts. Visibility breaks into fragments, light and shadow trading places with every few steps. It demands that those who walk these woods rely not only on their eyes, but on their ears. This makes long-range tracking difficult, but it favors those who know the land, those who can choose a path with the wind at their back, where footsteps don't echo, and the fallen leaves don't betray every movement. On the damp ground that still holds the chill of the night, the tracks of the wild boar herd stand out clearly. The deep impressions with wide edges show both their weight and frequent movement. Well-worn game trails, carved by hundreds of nightly passes, confirm that the herd moves through this area regularly. By studying the depth of the prints, the spacing between them, and the subtle angles of their turns, hunters can determine not only the size of the herd, but also their rhythm of movement and the pace at which they travel. Local hunters rely on these signs to calculate interception points or approach routes, minimizing noise and maintaining the element of control. Weapon selection in the Epirus woodlands is determined not just by power or range, but by suitability to visibility, typical engagement distances, and obstacle density. Bolt-action rifles prove most effective in forest openings where sight lines extend and targets can be observed before engagement. Their manually operated bolt-locking mechanism keeps the action stable in damp conditions and helps prevent jams from mud and mist. Yet because bolt actions are slower to cycle, the shooter must time the shot precisely or risk losing the opportunity. By contrast, a shotgun loaded with slugs is well suited to tight visibility terrain where targets appear at short range and only for a moment. Strong stopping power and a predictable close-range trajectory are advantages, though rapid bullet drop reduces accuracy at longer distances. For that reason, hunters typically carry the weapon best matched to the particular patch of forest they plan to move through. The hunting dogs move behind at a steady, controlled pace. No barking, no sudden bursts of motion. They're trained to communicate through body language, the angle of the ears, the tension across the shoulders, the rhythm of their gait. In these damp, quiet forests where sound carries easily and echoes off stone, silence is an advantage. Using nonverbal signals preserves stealth and prevents the herd from being alerted before the moment comes.
Ανήφορο και προς τα κάτω.
Πάμε 400 μέτρα αριστερά μας. Πρέπει να φύγουμε εδώ. Ηλία, όπα, είναι στάμπα. Εδώ.
Ecologically, wild boars are opportunistic omnivores with a remarkable ability to adapt to shifting seasonal food sources. In spring, they feed on young shoots and underground bulbs. In summer and early autumn, they seek out grains or forest fruits. By late autumn and winter, they root for tree roots and leftover food beneath the soil. They typically move with the wind at their back to avoid exposing their scent, and they are most active at dawn and dusk when temperatures are favorable and humidity reduces energy loss. During the day, they shelter in concealed areas, dense thickets or shallow rock hollows, where the chance of being detected is minimal. When they sense something unusual, the herd will move together toward higher ground, where their ability to hear, observe, and assess danger is greatly increased. When night falls, the entire approach changes. Thermal cameras become the primary tool for detecting animal heat signatures in the thick forest darkness. Night vision scopes and infrared lights are used only sparingly to maintain stealth for those moving in. But the terrain at night brings real risks. Steep slopes make distance difficult to judge. Crevices and soft ground hidden under layers of fallen leaves can cause slips, and roots and buried stones make the footing unstable. In the dark, even the smallest sound is enough for the herd to alter its direction long before a human ever gets close. The dense canopy also reduces radio communication. Walkie-talkies only work reliably at short range, so the team must move close together and rely on hand signals or light taps on the shoulder. Maintaining silence and perfect coordination is crucial to avoid influencing the herd's behavior. In these conditions, the role of weapons is continually adjusted to reality. At very close range and with restricted sight lines, cycling speed, controllability, and muzzle discipline matter more than raw power. Firearms are used not to chase but to establish control points, reducing herd density and helping minimize damage to farmland. Population control here is not aimed at total eradication, but at maintaining balance between the forest ecosystem and agricultural land. Wild boars are not an invasive enemy to be wiped out completely. They are a natural part of the forest. The problem begins when their population density rises beyond what the environment can regulate on its own. Therefore, this is not a confrontation between humans and nature. It is a process of observing, measuring, adjusting, and maintaining, repeated seasonally and in response to climate shifts. Wild boars were never the enemies of mankind. They did not ask for this war, nor did they seek conflict. They were simply doing what nature designed them to do: to dig, to forage, to survive. It is only when the world around them changes faster than they can adapt that they become a problem not of their making, but of ours. In the deep forest, they are architects of life. Every root they unearth, every mound they overturn, every seed they scatter, each act shapes the soil, recycles nutrients, and keeps the wilderness alive. They are not invaders there, they are caretakers of balance. But when their numbers grow beyond what the land can bear, when the rhythm of nature is broken by human hands, the invisible line between forest and farm begins to blur. And when that happens, we, the very species that change the land, are forced to step in, not as conquerors, but as reluctant participants in restoring what we disturbed. This is not a war to be won. It is not about victory or vengeance. It is about understanding, about learning the language of nature before it falls silent. Managing wild boars is not an act of domination. It is an act of responsibility. Because to live on this earth is to share it with all that crawls, grows, and breathes beside us. We must observe. We must listen. We must adapt again and again as seasons turn and climates shift. True balance is not a moment frozen in time. It is a living process, fragile and ongoing, renewed each day through patience and awareness. The forest doesn't need perfection from us. It needs humility, the kind that remembers we are guests here, not rulers. This story will not end tonight or tomorrow or even in our lifetime. It will continue through the turning of the earth, through drought and rain, through generations of both human and beast. What matters is not that we solve it once and for all, but that we keep learning, keep adjusting, keep watching the thin line between order and chaos. Because that line, that fragile boundary between wild and tame, is where the story of life truly happens. So when you see the soil torn open or hear the rustle of hooves in the dark, remember, it is not nature attacking us. It is nature reminding us of our place, reminding us that survival has always been a shared effort. NEO Farm, where we don't just watch nature, we listen to it. Where stories are told not in words, but in the heartbeat of the earth itself. Stories of endurance, of balance, of a world still learning to coexist. Because in the end, the wild is not against us. It is us, and it will keep speaking for as long as someone is willing to listen.
Si puoi
Α, εκεί είσαι. Εσύ την πυροβόλησες πάλι στο χωράφι. Τρία το έχεις πάλι. Γιατί ρε έτσι. Μας τυράννησες γάμο τώρα. Άιντε σε κάτω. Ούρα!
Μπράβο ρε Πασχάλη. Πασχάλη.